Hi, thanks for joining us for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. I'm Chris Cooper. Cucumbers are a cool summer snack, but they can take up a lot of room in the garden. Today we're going to learn how to build a cucumber trellis. Also, blights love warm, humid weather, and we've had lots of that. Today we will mix and apply fungicide. That's just ahead on the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South.
Production funding for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South is provided by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to the Family Plot. I'm Chris Cooper. Joining me today is Dr. Natalie Baumgartner. Dr. Natalie is Assistant Professor of Residential Consumer Horticulture for UT Extension, and Mr. D will be joining me later. All right, Doc, we're going to trellis our cucumbers. How about that? That's going to be pretty
cucumbers,
fun.
yeah.
So what do we need to know? What do we need to do?
Well, so there's several different methods that you can use to train cucumbers, and we're going to kind of talk about a couple of different ones.
Okay.
And of course, the first thing to say is these are not going to be our most compact cucumbers, right? So I mean, we're talking about cucumbers that are going to have some good height or spread on them. And so, you know, why do we train? Well, we can get the leaves up off the ground. We can get more air movement around them, which can help with leaf diseases.
Okay.
And let's be honest, they're a lot easier to pick.
It's going to be so much easier to pick, that's for sure.
Yeah. So cucumbers are handy because, you know, they have tendrils and they can hold themselves up a lot. Yeah. So the first thing that I think would be cool to show people is how to train individual cucumbers.
Cool, okay.
And so we have this nice little row here that we're going to demonstrate this on, but also keep in mind that this would work if you had a barrel on your porch and a single plant, right? Okay. So there are lots of ways that this could be scaled down to a much smaller system. Okay. And so what we have here is we have 3 T-posts which are going to provide us with the opportunity to put up a top wire here.
All right.
And they're definitely strong enough, right? I mean, you wouldn't need quite this much physical support, but it's certainly handy because, you know, we can do a pretty good job of getting some tension on this wire. And so, you know, this is 17 gauge wire. You know, it should be fine for a few cucumbers, but just keep in mind that if you're really gonna have a lot of weight on it, you know, you're gonna need to have a little bit heavier gauge.
And it's easy enough so far. You just tie it around. Okay.
Yeah, so we're just kind of looping around, and I think that you may actually have the wire cutters in your back pocket. There we go. All right, so we're just gonna cut this off right here.
Okay.
And let me go ahead and twist that around there. Okay. So I brought with me a couple of gadgets, right?
Yeah, we like gadgets.
From the greenhouse world, but these are really easy to get a hold of. So don't feel like these are inaccessible. You know, all kinds of online suppliers have these. So these are just little bobbins that have a whole lot of nylon twine, right? Okay. These probably be enough string to last you for years. And they just have a little hook here that allows them to easily clip over the top of a little amount of wire, and so what we're going to do is just have one bobbin for each one of our cucumber plants. And so you can get little vine clips, and that's certainly fine, but lots of times with cucumbers, since they have these tendrils, you don't really have to worry too much about vine clips. You can simply just twist.
Just wrap it around.
Yeah, and of course, there's a little bit of learning to that. You don't want to do it real tight and those sorts of things, but the tendrils will soon do a pretty good job of holding that cucumber up. And so it'll continue to grow, and each time it grows a little bit, you just twist it a little bit, and you know, you'll soon have the cucumber trained up very well there. This is my other favorite gadget.
Okay. You like gadgets?
Yeah. So this is the saddle. And you may ask, right, what happens when the cucumber gets to the top of the wire, right?
So what does happen?
We just take the cucumber back down the other side of the wire. And this is a nice little plastic clip here, which once again just goes over the top of this metal line here.
Okay.
And what it allows us to do is when we get this cucumber all the way up, then we'll just simply take its little stem and
Gotcha.
and then it'll be able to grow back down. So we'll have,
gotcha.
you know, another, what, almost 5 feet of growing space. Because if we just took that cucumber over the top of this thin metal, it would probably crimp it. And,
Gotcha.
you know, so we have a nice gentle curve here. These can be reused as well. And so it's
that's smart.
yeah, it's a pretty cool
go
little
over the top.
way
Okay.
to be able to train those cucumbers. And so
Nice.
people have different schools of thought
Okay.
about tendrils. Some people leave them on, some people pull them off.
So what do you
Well,
do?
If I'm going to be training a lot of these cucumbers vertically up close together, I may pull them.
Okay.
Because what they're going to do is all grow together and, you know.
Gotcha.
But it's not a big concern. You can leave them, you can take them. Either one, they will provide stability. Yes,
good.
if you leave them. And so so it's going to be really easy to pick. We can also see that, you know, we're starting to get little blooms, and
I
of
see
course
that.
our
I see
fruit are going to be
it.
coming right out of, you know, those leaf axils, and they'll be easy to pick. We'll get them up off the ground, and so this is a nice thing, way that can go, you know, many feet or one cucumber.
One cucumber. How about that? Actually, I like those gadgets.
Yeah.
Those are really
Yeah.
good. Yeah. I can see where that comes in handy
Yeah.
too. Okay.
Indoors, outdoors, pretty handy.
So it doesn't matter. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So what about another method?
All right, so so this is kind of the new farmer
That's
way,
new
right?
farmer.
So now we'll do
Old
old
school.
farmer, right?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's go old school.
So the second method that we have here is cattle panel. So we've already got a couple of T-posts that are driven. I brought along my post
Wow.
driver.
How about
you know,
that?
You just never know
You just so happen to have it,
when
huh?
you may need to drive some posts.
Hey, you're driving it pretty good.
So I usually like to drive them until we get our little V into the ground. That ends up being close to a foot. So
Okay, it's about a foot.
So that's pretty secure. And you can see, you know, we have our flat side where we can easily connect this cattle panel. And so once again, you know, your farm supply store, these are really pretty easy to get a hold of. We did cut this
We did.
to be the right length.
Okay, let's get it in here. You must have used let's use that before a few times. You're driving into the ground.
about you know, once a year
About
I
once
get
a year.
in a pretty good amount of tomato steak driving. And so we have our clips here that we're going to secure these panels with. And we're gonna get that in place, and then we'll twist this around
Okay.
with our handy dandy pliers here.
All right.
And there we go.
There you go. All right.
All right, so
right.
now we're ready for our third one.
All right, get it up there. All right.
We're just gonna secure this bottom here so that it doesn't swing.
I think that works.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that
now we've
works.
got a
That
nice,
works.
that's pretty sturdy. So, so this will be the vertical structure that we'll be able to just train our cucumbers on. And this will be, it'll be a pretty simple process. We'll really just kind of weave these young plants, get them vertically supported, and of course the tendrils will definitely do the work for us once we get going. I would definitely not worry about removing any tendrils on a plant that's growing on this
Okay.
system. So yeah, so it won't be very long at all before these cucumbers will be up, and pretty much just a whole wall here. There we go.
There we have
Yep.
it.
city farm or country farmer right here.
So it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Doc. We appreciate that demonstration. It's pretty good.
When is the correct time to harvest your bean? Normally it takes about 60 to 90 days once you plant your bean for they be ready. And you don't want to harvest when they're too small or when they're too large. This right here is too small. That bean is too small to harvest right this here. And this is too large here, too big to harvest this here. This is the correct one to harvest right here. You want to try to harvest this bean here when you get this about this size here and about 3 inches long before you harvest them. It's good to harvest when they're just right before they get too big. It's not they don't taste good, they're gonna be hard.
We're out in the family plot garden, and we're going to be talking about fungicides. And we're actually going to be mixing up some fungicides to control blight. So what do we need to start with that, Mr. D?
Well, we have first thing we have is a fungicide that we can use. We have a sprayer, and hopefully this is one that we've not used any herbicide in.
Hopefully so.
So if you've been spraying Roundup or 2,4-D or something like that around in the yard, do not use that sprayer.
That's right.
For one that you apply fungicide to tomatoes.
Labeling is very important.
Very important. I would take a Sharpie and write on there in big letters, fungicide or insecticide only. And then on your herbicide sprayer, write herbicide only, weed killers only, you know,
Yes.
whatever terminology you want to use.
Okay.
But it's important to control blight on tomatoes. On these tomatoes, we don't see a lot of sign of blight right now. And that is a good time to start spraying because fungicides, as you know, are more preventative in nature.
Right.
During conditions when fungal diseases can become present, like we've been having the last few days, rainy conditions every once in a while, and high humidity, then it's important to have a protective coat of fungicide on those tomato plants.
Okay.
And tomatoes, if you don't do that with tomatoes, unfortunately, they will start browning up from the bottom, and in late summer, the production will decline, and then they'll just kind of die on you. If you control blight and the fungal diseases on tomatoes, you'll have tomatoes until the frost kills the plants,
right.
and that's what's supposed to happen.
Sure.
That's what's supposed to happen. But I'd say with this, no more. We've got what, 1, 2, 3 tomato plants. Let's mix. We'll only probably need a half a gallon or less than a half a gallon of material.
Okay.
And the way I start out is I put a little bit of water in the bottom of the sprayer here. Half or less than half than you're going to add. And we've got water here.
Okay.
So let's see here. We certainly aren't going to need this much. We've got this marked. The lower mark is a half gallon.
Okay.
And the higher mark is a gallon, and so we're only going to mix up a half gallon, so I'm going to pour only probably about a quarter of a jug here of water. And I need to be pretty sure that, and this spray tank has already been rinsed out. I know it's clean. Okay, that's
about it.
what we're going to need there.
Can you see it there?
Yeah, that's good. Okay. Now, the rate on this particular fungicide that we're using varies from a half an ounce to I think 2 to 2 ounces per gallon. And now when we don't have a lot of disease pressure, we haven't had a real heavy rain in the past few hours, we'd go with a lower rate.
Okay.
And that would be about a tablespoon per gallon. Since we're mixing up a half gallon, that's a half a tablespoon. And we have here our trusty measuring spoons. Let's see if we got a half tablespoon. Wouldn't that be neat? Got a teaspoon, and there are 3 teaspoons to a tablespoon. We've got a quarter teaspoon, and a half teaspoon.
How about that?
So we will take the tablespoon one, and we're going to fill that about half full.
Okay.
To give us the rate that we need.
Okay. And what kind of fungicide are we going to be using today, Mr. D?
This is a copper fungicide. I know with the UT Red Book they recommend Bravo or chlorothalonil and Maneb to control early and late blight.
Right.
Copper is a inorganic fungicide that is also labeled for use on tomatoes, and that's what we've got. So that's what we're going to use today.
All right.
With any pesticide, you probably need to shake it up real good before you use it. Make sure it's in solution.
Okay.
And
There you
that's
go.
on there good. Thought I was going to have to get you to take it off for me. Look at this. What a pretty blue color.
Oh, yeah,
That's copper.
delicious.
That's copper.
Right.
So I'm going to put about a half a tablespoon. Did you say it's about a half?
I would say that.
It's smaller on the bottom than it is on
I
the
would say
top.
that.
Let me put a little bit because, like I said earlier, the rate is variable.
Yeah.
That looks pretty good right there.
Okay.
I'll let you cap that off for me.
Cap that.
I'm going to pour this in. Okay. I'm going to set this aside. And I'm going to go ahead and bring my level back up, or bring my level up to my mark, my half-gallon mark. Tell you what I'm going to do.
Rinse that out.
I'm going to rinse this out as I'm doing it. It's a good idea to triple rinse any of your mixing utensils. There's one. I may do more than that. That way, this fungicide goes where it needs to go. It goes on the plant, not down your drain. Let's got that in better shape.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to bring that up to the half-gallon mark. Is that about right?
Yeah, I think he just about got it.
Yeah, that's good enough.
Just about got it. And put that back in there.
Okay. Take this off. Put this back together. Why didn't I take it off like that?
I don't know. Just wanted to make it hard.
Yeah. Okay, snug it down good. I'm going to shake it up now. Real good. Sure, all
Everything's
its fittings are
tight.
tight.
Yeah.
Because they'll let you know. It'll leak on you if it's
sure
not. Okay, we have our solution ready.
Okay, well, Mr. D, why don't we go ahead and spray these
Let's
tomatoes?
go spray tomatoes.
All right.
All right, let's see what we've got here. Shaking it up again. Let's see what kind of pattern we've got. Don't want that
Yeah.
pattern.
It's a stream.
String. Oh, that looks good right there. Okay, the key to controlling fungal diseases is to get good coverage. And with blight, you definitely need to get the underside of the leaves.
Okay.
So I'm going to do that first, try to get the underside of the leaves. And then you spray to the point of runoff, basically just before the point of runoff, because if it runs off, you're contaminating the soil, and it's not, the fungicide doesn't do any good on the ground. It's got that pretty good.
Yeah.
Let me get this one. Again, I'm trying to get the underside of the leaves first.
Mr. D, looks like you've done that a time or two before,
I have
right?
done this a time or two before. You know, and it's something that needs to be done, like I said, like we said earlier, every 5 to 7 days, 7 to 10 days if you don't get any rain. If you get a rain on this thing, you know, half-inch rain, you probably need to do it again. Just pretend like you didn't put that application out there.
Okay.
Very important to follow the label on mixing these. It's important to observe the restrictions on harvest. We don't have to worry about that right now because we're not harvesting tomatoes. However, there is a green tomato right there.
There's a couple.
If you like fried green tomatoes, that would probably work.
There's a couple.
That's got these protected for a few days,
Okay.
provided the rain doesn't wash it off.
All right. I appreciate that demo, Mr. D.
Most welcome.
All right. This wilting that you see here, the squash leaf, may be an indicator of the squash vine borer. So we're going to look at the base of the plant, and I can actually see where it looks like a squash vine borer may have been there. So let's yank this out and see if we can find it. You can see here the entry points that the squash vine borer made. You can see the frass that it left behind. Let's see if we can cut down here and find one. Maybe it got away from us. But you can definitely tell it's been there. Of course, it tunnels through the vascular tissue. So we didn't find the squash vine borer. It's probably already completed its life cycle and flying around somewhere and probably laying an egg. But what you want to do as far as control goes is use carbaryl. spray the carbaryl or sprinkle it around the base of the squash vine, and that should give you the control that you're looking for. All right, Doc, here's our Q&A segment. You ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Great questions we have here. So here's our first viewer email. I have 2 pepper plants planted in a 10-gallon container, and only one of them has flowers and peppers. Why does one of my pepper plants not have any flowers or peppers? And this is Al on YouTube. So interesting, right? 2, but one has the problem, right?
Yeah.
The other's okay. One has a problem. What do you
Yeah.
think?
So
These are always tough to me.
yeah, I mean, and this was one that, you know, we could throw out some ideas, right? But probably we may not have all the information that we
True,
would need.
true.
You know, are they the same cultivar?
Okay.
You know, so we may have a little bit of a different yield time. Sometimes, you know, some of our smaller fruited cultivars may, you know,
Okay.
bloom
Now, that makes
earlier,
sense.
right?
I'm with you.
You know, and it's
I'm with you
also
so far.
possible that, you know, even if you got them from a garden center and they're different cultivars, they could have been of different maturity,
Okay.
you know, seeded at different times.
Okay,
So,
how about that?
you know, the
Okay.
plants may be different ages. The other thing that could always stress them and hold them back is, you know, are we seeing any disease or, you know, or pest issues?
Definitely thought of that. Because do peppers have major, you know, pests?
I mean, the pests, we can certainly see some. One that I would think about in terms of a young pepper that's just performing poorly would be bacterial leaf spot.
Ah, oh, okay.
So we
Okay,
know as
that
a
makes
young
sense. Okay.
plant, you know, that can be something that can spread well, like a pathologist, that
Okay.
can spread quickly
Yeah.
in a humid greenhouse environment. And if that plant, you know, had leaf infections and then we have reduced leaf area, it stresses the plant, it's not able to grow as well,
Right,
you know,
right.
fewer sugars and,
Makes sense.
you know, an ability to photosynthesize. So, you know, there could be some, you know, some holding that plant back for disease of pests.
So what do you think he should do then? Just
If it's healthy,
if it's healthy, okay.
be patient.
Okay,
right?
be patient.
Yeah. Well,
All
I mean,
right.
I guess we haven't mentioned nutrition. If they're in the
Okay, yeah,
same
yeah, that's right,
container,
that's right.
you know, make sure that they're, you know, fed properly and that we're
Right,
not seeing any
right.
leaf yellowing or something like that.
Because a pretty good
Yeah.
sized container,
Yeah.
10-gallon
Yeah.
container. So yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay.
with peppers are sensitive to poor drainage. But, you know, if they're both in the same container, then we would think that probably it's not something like a drainage issue and a
Okay.
root rot leading to poor performance.
I would
So,
agree.
yeah, rule out the environmental, the disease, and give him just a little bit of time.
Just a
Maybe
little
he's a late
time.
bloomer.
Yeah, just a little time. Just a late bloomer, right? That happens sometime, doesn't it? All right, so there you have it. Al, just be patient and see what happens, okay? And it is a pepper.
Right, yeah.
It'll grow out of
Yeah,
it. It'll be
give him a
fine.
chance.
All right, so here's our next viewer email. Interesting question here. Is there a way to get female flowers on my squash plant? Last year, all but a few were males, and this year it seems to be happening again. And this is Grand in Memphis, Tennessee. So, a lot
Yeah.
of male flowers, no female flowers.
This
But
may be our most common cucurbit question, do you think?
I think so.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Um, So first off,
All right.
Grant's in great shape because he already knows that you get both male and female flowers from cucurbits. So I mean, it's a great place to begin. Early in the season, it's common for cucurbits to produce male flowers before they really start bringing on female
Right.
flowers.
Because the male flowers are going to, of course, have the pollen needed
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, we don't want to
alright.
go to all the bother to have
Okay.
female flowers if we're not going to have pollen available to pollinate those fruit.
Okay.
So that's kind of an early season
Okay.
thing to think about. And then we also want to think about the fact that later in the season, when the plants are actively growing, if there's stress, be it moisture, heat,
Yeah.
you know, when those plants get stressed, they may also produce fewer female flowers.
Gotcha.
And so there's, you know, make sure that, you know, we're irrigating, that we're properly, you know, managing nutrition, and having a healthy, well-performing plant can be a
Gotcha.
way to, you know, bring that into balance.
Gotcha.
I'll throw in one more geeky thing.
Okay, go on. We like geeky things.
All right.
Come on.
So it's more common in cucumbers, right?
Okay.
But they're in the cucurbit family. So you can purchase cultivars that have been selected to just have female
Really?
flowers, right? So they're called Guianaceous, and they only produce female flowers.
What's
Yeah,
that?
Guianaceous Parthenocarpic. There you go.
Parthenocarpic. There it is.
Fact of
The
day.
geeky term.
Yeah.
Geeky term for the day. How about that?
We use them a
Interesting.
lot in enclosed environments.
Okay.
Like in greenhouses where we don't have to bring in bees to pollinate.
Gotcha.
They
Makes
have
sense.
all female flowers, and those flowers will produce fruit without pollination.
How about that? And most of your female blooms are larger anyway, so a lot of that energy needs to go to producing the bloom. And it has an ovary, of course,
right.
which is
yeah.
the fruit.
So the ovary,
Right.
the bloom, all of that's more energy
Right,
consumptive
it's more
than the
energy.
smaller male flowers. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So don't worry, right? You'll be
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. I mean, there's some things you can do, but also there's a little bit of patience that may be involved. Yeah.
All right, Grant, just a little bit of patience, all right? I think you're doing good. All right, Doc, that was fun.
Yeah.
fun.
Another good set of questions.
Yes. So thank you much for being here.
Yeah.
All right.
Always glad.
Remember, we love to hear from you. Send us an email or letter. The email address is familyplot@wkno.org, and the mailing address is Family Plot, 7151 Cherry Farms Road, Cordova, Tennessee 38016. Or you can go online to familyplotgarden.com. That's all we have time for today. Thanks for joining us. If you need more information about cucumbers or fungicide, go to familyplotgarden.com. We have information on that and a lot more. Be sure to join us next week for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. Be safe.